Today, we're journeying back in time, over 1,000 years to a period often painted as dark, brutal, and frankly, a bit muddy. I'm talking about Anglo-Saxon England. But was life really just a grim struggle for survival, or is there a more brilliant, complex picture waiting to be uncovered? Was it all mud, blood, and Vikings? Or was there art, law, and community? Let's dig in and find out if life in Anglo-Saxon England was brutal or brilliant. First, let's tackle the brutal side of the argument. Because let's be honest, it's the image that usually comes to mind, and there's some truth to it. Life was undeniably hard. Most people, over 90%, were farmers. Their lives were dictated by the seasons, from the spring plowing to the autumn harvest. A bad harvest didn't just mean a smaller profit. It could mean starvation. Imagine spending your days engaged in backbreaking physical labor, using simple tools like wooden plows pulled by oxen. Life expectancy was low, maybe around 30 or 40 years old. Childhood diseases were common, and a simple infection from a cut could be a death sentence. There were no antibiotics, no modern medicine, just folk remedies and prayers. And then there's the violence. The term Anglo-Saxon itself refers to Germanic tribes who migrated and fought their way into post-Roman Britain. The island was a patchwork of warring kingdoms like Wessex, Mercia, and Northumbria, all vying for power. Conflict was a constant threat, and we can't forget the Vikings. From the late 8th century onwards, Viking raids were a terrifying reality for coastal communities. Monasteries were plundered, villages burned, and people were killed or taken into slavery. The Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, one of our best sources, is filled with entries detailing these fierce encounters. So yes, in many ways, life could be short, harsh, and violent. The brutal label isn't entirely without merit. But hold on, that's only half the story. If we stop there, we miss the brilliant side of Anglo-Saxon England, and trust me, it's just as compelling. Let's start with their society. It wasn't just a chaotic free-for-all. Anglo-Saxon society was highly organized, built around loyalty and kinship. The core unit was the family, but this extended to a wider loyalty to a local lord, and ultimately, to the king. This system provided a framework of protection and justice. They had a sophisticated legal system. Forget the idea of savage justice. Anglo-Saxon law codes, like those of King Ethelbert of Kent, were incredibly detailed. They didn't just punish crimes. They were designed to prevent blood feuds by establishing a system of compensation known as the wergild or man price. Every person, from a king to a peasant, had a monetary value. If you injured or killed someone, you had to pay their wergild to their family. It was a practical way to maintain social order. Now let's talk about something truly brilliant: their culture. The Anglo-Saxons weren't illiterate barbarians. They had a vibrant literary tradition. This is the age of epic poetry, most famously Beowulf, a sprawling tale of heroes, monsters, and dragon slaying that gives us incredible insight into their values of courage, loyalty, and honor. But it wasn't just epic poems. They wrote beautiful, melancholic elegies like The Wanderer and The Seafarer, which express a profound sense of loss and the harshness of life, yet with incredible artistic skill. And they didn't just write in Latin, the language of the church. They championed their own language, Old English. King Alfred the Great, a remarkable ruler, believed so strongly in education that he initiated a program to translate important Latin works into Old English so that more people could read and learn. He was a warrior king, yes, but also a scholar king who laid the foundations for English prose. And the artistry is breathtaking. If you ever get the chance to see Anglo-Saxon artifacts in a museum, you'll be stunned. We're talking about intricate metalwork, stunning jewelry, and breathtaking manuscripts. Think of the Sutton Hoo treasure, discovered in a ship burial in Suffolk. The helmet alone, with its garnet inlays and intricate designs, is a masterpiece of craftsmanship. It shows a society that had access to international trade routes and valued beauty and status. Or look at the Lindisfarne Gospels, an illuminated manuscript from the early 8th century. Every page is a riot of color and complex, swirling patterns, blending Celtic and Germanic art styles with Christian imagery. This isn't the work of a primitive people. It's the work of master artists with incredible skill, patience, and a deep spiritual and aesthetic sense. This was a world filled with color and creativity. What about everyday life? It wasn't all farming and fighting. Anglo-Saxons had a strong sense of community. People lived in small villages, often in large wooden halls where a whole extended family might live, eat, and sleep. In the evenings, they would gather around the fire, a focal point for warmth, cooking, and storytelling. A scop, or poet, would recite tales of heroes in history, accompanied by a harp. They played board games like Taffel, a strategy game similar to chess. They held feasts to celebrate seasonal changes, religious festivals, and major life events. These moments of community and entertainment were vital for morale and for passing on their culture and history from one generation to the next. Their faith also provided structure and meaning. Early on, they practiced a pagan religion, worshipping gods like Woden and Thor, whose names still live on in our days of the week, Wednesday and Thursday. But by the 7th century, England had largely converted to Christianity. This brought about huge changes. The church introduced Latin learning, stone architecture, and a new moral framework. Monasteries became centers of learning and art, preserving knowledge and creating beautiful works like the Lindisfarne Gospels. But the Anglo-Saxons didn't just adopt Christianity. They blended it with their own culture, creating a unique and vibrant form of faith that shaped their worldview. So let's return to our original question. Was life in Anglo-Saxon England brutal or brilliant? The answer, as you've probably guessed, is that it was both. It's a false dichotomy to choose one over the other. The reality was a complex tapestry woven with threads of hardship and threads of incredible beauty. Life could be brutally short and violent, governed by the relentless cycle of seasons and the constant threat of conflict. But it was also a society that produced breathtaking art, profound literature, and sophisticated systems of law and governance. They were resilient, resourceful, and creative people who built a rich and complex world from the ashes of the Roman Empire. They were not simply living in a dark age. They were laying the foundations for the nation of England, and their legacy is far more brilliant than they are often given credit for. The mud and blood were real, but so were the poetry, the gold, and the sense of community. What do you think? Does the brilliant side of Anglo-Saxon England surprise you? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey back in time, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.